are back on the Zero Hour. I'm your host, Richard RJ Eskow. As you know, the unionization wave has been sweeping across the country. Public opinion of unions is the highest it's been in many years. We've seen the union movement find new footholds throughout the retail world and other parts of the working economy. My next guest is part of one of the latest fronts in the struggle for worker rights. Maeg, Yosef is the communications director for Trader Joe's United. That's right, the workers at Trader Joe's are organizing, which is a welcome development. So let's see what she has to say about it with us. First of all, Maeg, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, RJ.
Secondly, let me add, of course, it's a pleasure, but let's start with this. How long have you guys, workers at Trader Joe's, been working on this union? This is, as I understand it, it's an independent union organized and run by the workers themselves. When and how did it get started?
Sure. So we are a fairly new union. Trader Joe's United was formed about a year ago when my store, the Hadley, Massachusetts Trader Joe's, voted to unionize. So you mentioned I'm the communications director for Trader Joe's United, but I'm also a crew member at the Hadley store. So everyone in leadership, everyone who's working on TJU also works in stores. So it is truly a worker-driven movement. I've been with the company for 20 years, and at my store, we started organizing in January of 2022. So that's when I started chatting to my coworkers about organizing, discovered that someone else had been organizing on a different shift, and we joined forces, started an organizing committee, and announced our campaign in May of 2022 and won our election on July 8th. A couple months later. And 2 weeks after that, the Minneapolis store also voted to join Trader Joe's United, and we've been organizing and spreading across the country since.
So Minneapolis and Massachusetts, pretty far apart, halfway across the country. Did they reach out to you guys when they heard about what you were doing, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so organizing is tricky because it happens in secret. So you don't, if you're part of a large company, you have no idea what's going on at other stores because security is such an important part of organizing successfully. You want to surprise the boss when you announce your campaign. So when we announced our campaign in Hadley, Minneapolis had already been organizing for several months. And they said, wow, we want to also join this independent union. They reached out to us, found us through the internet, through different connections, and we, started talking probably in May of last year.
Well, that's very exciting, first of all, to see people spontaneously doing it in different places. But I also wanted to ask you, Trader Joe's for a long time has had this kind of image, laid back, kind of hipsterish, easygoing, seems like a cool company to work for. They'd be pretty chill and all that. How chill have they been when it comes to labor organizing among their workforce?
Trader Joe's is not chill at all when it comes to worker power and having their workers want to organize and unionize. They might be chill about like dark chocolate peanut butter cups, but not when it comes to unions. So, it's tough. Trader Joe's has that progressive image and a lot of people believe in it, but it's really a facade. As soon as we announced our union drive in Hadley, the company, I think they took like a week or two to I think they were in shock in the beginning, and then they very quickly rolled out a union busting campaign that was pulled straight from the Starbucks or Amazon playbook, captive audience meetings, prohibiting us from wearing union pins, which is a very clearly defined right under the National Labor Relations Act, coercion, intimidation, having one-on-ones where they told crew members all kinds of things that were not accurate, telling them that they wouldn't get raises if we unionized, wouldn't get their 401k contributions, all sorts of things. And since then, they've rolled out similar campaigns at every store that has filed for a union election. And most recently at our store, they actually terminated one of our coworkers in retaliation for his union support. And so we have a campaign at our store right now to reinstate him. His name is Steve. So really, they're not different than any other corporation.
And that's illegal, right? To terminate somebody. Yeah. So they probably came up with some fishy excuse or something about, or did they not even bother?
Well, the excuse that they came up with was so wild that it defies. They claimed that Steve was fired because he created a safety issue because he failed to remove a jigsaw, a power tool, from our store. However, the catch is that, one, the tool didn't belong to Steve. He wasn't responsible for it. It was purchased under the request of management years before he worked at our store. And management uses that tool. So, this responsibility was somehow randomly put onto Steve as an excuse to terminate him. And like you said, all these things are illegal, and we are going through the channels of filing unfair labor practice charges with the NLRB. We've received some complaints where the NLRB found merit in our charges, but as you probably know, it's a slow process. It requires a lot of patience, but it's just one of the many tools that we have to hold Trader Joe's accountable. And
Meg, I wanted to ask you, is Trader Joe's, is that a publicly traded corporation, or does a family own it, or who are the people behind it?
So Trader Joe's is not publicly traded. It's a private firm, and it's owned by a German family, so the Albrechts in Germany, and it's run through one of their family foundations.
So basically, you're up against people who aren't even, not that it's a great accountability thing, but they don't have to file public, the way publicly traded corporations do. They don't have to file public financials or any of those things, right? They can kind of operate in secret a little bit as a private
Correct.
company. Yeah.
Correct.
So they've, and I've got to say this because it's on my mind. I have such a conspiratorial mindset when it comes to employers. I can't even remember where, but recently I saw an article about basically how much fun it is to work at Trader Joe's, and how, no offense, but everybody's hooking up or partying or whatever. And I wondered to myself, is the company planning those stories to make it seem like these people have nothing to complain about? Because I've seen employers do that kind of thing. Do you know about the kind of stories I'm talking about?
Are you referring, I think you're referring to the Slate article about...
Yes, it was.
How it's
right.
like a grocery orgy or something.
Right. Clean up on aisle 3. No offense. But yeah.
So I do have some thoughts on that. I don't know if Trader Joe's is planting those stories. So there's a level of customer service. First of all, I should disclose I did meet my wife at Trader Joe's.
Congratulations.
So maybe there's a tiny bit of truth to it there. But there's such a level of customer service that's expected of Trader Joe's employees. And I think that level of performance and emotional labor can be misconstrued by people as flirting. I'm sure you've heard the rumors of Trader Joe's workers just want to flirt with you. And that's really, we're just trying to do our job. We're just trying to be friendly. It's not a hookup culture. We're not flirting. But we do care about our customers. We do want to provide good service and create a positive environment. And, the fun part of working at Trader Joe's is your coworkers. It is a type of community where we really look out for each other. And that's part of why us organizing together has been so successful. You mentioned Minneapolis is so far from Hadley, but when we talk, we get the work culture, we get the struggles, all of that stuff is the same. So there's an immediate connection, whether you're in your own store or talking to somebody 2,000 miles away. That's really profound, I think.
And labor issues aside, they're critically important, but do most people there enjoy working there, basically enjoy the atmosphere and the vibe, for lack of a better word, or is it mixed, or what do you think?
I think that a lot of people are drawn to the store and enjoy the, different aspects of the work, but want to be fairly compensated for it,
Sure.
and want to have the opportunity to do it safely. Like, I personally enjoy having a physical job, but there's so many ergonomic issues that contribute to injuries. It's very challenging. And a lot of crew members face that. So, there's a lot of positives about the job, but especially over the past 10 years, the company has whittled away at our pay, our benefits. They slashed our retirement contributions. They haven't improved a lot of safety issues. So we have a lot of concerns that we would like to address in a contract.
That makes complete sense. My sense is also, but this is purely impressionistic, so I could be wrong, but my sense sometimes when I go there is that it's understaffed from time to time, that there's just people are really hustling. Sometimes there are long lines. Maybe that's just the one I go to, but I know it's a big stressor when people are working and they could use more help.
Yeah, I mean, the volume at our store has greatly increased over the years. We're constantly hiring, and I think part of that is that our wages are no longer competitive the way that they might have been 10 or 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. They're hiring just above minimum wage in a lot of cases at our store, or at other stores. And so I think that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you guys have been at this now for over a year. Mm-hmm. So there are now 2 organized stores. Is that correct?
There's actually 4. So Hadley, Minneapolis, Louisville, and Oakland. And so the Louisville, Kentucky store voted to unionize in this past January, but due to delay, like the company filed a number of objections to their election, and is continuing to file things that will delay the process for them to get certified with the NLRB. So they're not officially certified yet, but it's just a matter of time.
You guys were either the first, or maybe Minneapolis started around the same time, but what was it like when you first began organizing there? Because this is a group of employees who's not been unionized before, since so few members of the private sector workforce work in union jobs anymore. It might be a new concept to a lot of people. Obviously, they've heard of it, and obviously, there's some familiarity with it. But was it tough work? Was it tough persuading people that forming a union, joining a union, and collectively bargaining could make their lives better? Was it a hard sell for you?
I would say that for the most part, it was not a hard sell at all. It really, because we'd all been experiencing what was happening with Trader Joe's. We experienced the pandemic. We experienced all the changes over the past decade or so. And so we're all in the same boat saying, like, wow, something has really got to change. Definitely some of the challenges we faced were after we announced. There's so much information that an employer spreads during a union campaign, and they really depend on targeting people's emotions. Mm-hmm. You won't get your retirement. Well, that's really scary, especially if you're nearing retirement or you're depending on that.
Right.
Work is going to be terrible if you unionize. Well, if you care about your workplace, you don't want to hear that. So that high level of emotionality in the union busting campaign really activates people's fears and makes it hard for them to tell fact from fiction. And when your employer is the entity that you have trusted your whole career to give you accurate information about your benefits in your workplace, it's a real mental shift from, wow, this is where I go to for the right stuff, to, oh my God, why are they lying to me? Oh, they must be lying to me because a union would be awesome. That's where a lot of people wound up, like, wow, they're going hard on us because a union is going to benefit us.
So it backfired on them a little bit.
And so in a lot of cases, it did backfire, but it definitely makes it difficult.
And did they target any of you individually? I mean, besides Steve, and we're rooting for you, Steve, if you're listening. But did they target like you or some of the other original organizers when you started doing this? Did you feel like your job was in danger, or did anybody else?
That's an interesting question. I've observed, I feel like the company tends to target people who might be they've mapped out as supporters, but who might not be the most visible supporters. Like they think they can get away with it. But I definitely am feeling a shift where I feel like they're going more scorched earth. Like they might come after anybody. I've been with Trader Joe's for 20 years, never had a write-up, never failed a review. I failed my last review. And I'm like, okay, so you want to have your options. You might want to move me along. Okay. Right. So I think that they've definitely targeted different individuals for sure.
It sounds like that's possible, and certainly, as you know, that's a common tactic. But also, I'm wondering, so stores have supervisors and the manager level, and then you get up to the executive level. To what level are you guys organizing? Like, is a store manager going to be part of the union, or is the store manager considered management? I'm asking for a reason, but...
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the bargaining unit who gets to be in the union is determined by the National Labor Relations Board. So they look at things like who in the store hires and fires, who has those responsibilities. And so people in supervisory positions are not part of the bargaining unit, and everyone else can be. So right now at Trader Joe's, for every election, the NLRB has determined, crew members can be in the union, but anyone who's a manager, either the store manager or an assistant manager, is not part of the bargaining unit.
So what is that, if anything, done to the relationship you and the organizing unit have with management, which in this case would be the assistant manager and the manager of the stores, as well as whoever they report to up through the company? Has that put any tension in there? Does it seem basically okay, or can't you tell?
I would say that there's absolutely tension, and that tension, in my mind, comes not really from management, but from corporate. Corporate is kind of this divisive third party that makes management do their dirty work. Right. Our CEO doesn't come in and say, hey, Meg, you won't get your 401k if you unionize. They hire firms like Morgan Lewis or Littler Mendelson to advise them on how to handle things. They charge management at the local level with, enacting those plans, and it does create tension at the same time that, I feel like really we're all kind of at the mercy of larger powers of corporate. So it's really unfortunate that they put people at anyone at the local level in that position, in my opinion.
I would assume correct me if I'm wrong, but I would have assumed your assistant managers and managers mostly came up through the crew jobs, right, crew member jobs. So I would assume they feel closer to you than they do to corporate. Is that true? Because if so, then they're being put in a bad spot, especially bad spot.
I think they're definitely put in a bad spot. And, our store in particular is sort of an island store. It's out in the country in Western Mass. There aren't other Trader Joe's around. So if you're a manager, you stay there for quite a while. And, there's managers that I've known for 2 decades. We've had friendships. So it absolutely is a strain on everyone.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, Meg, about the relationship with established unions, larger unions. There are a lot of them out there, including in the food service, grocery industry, and so on. You guys formed spontaneously, however you want to put it. And I'm just wondering, have larger unions reached out to you? Has pre-organized labor contacted you? Are you cooperating with them? Are there discussions or exchanges of any kind between you all and the established union movement?
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of solidarity between, for example, we are having a rally next week in Boston outside of Trader Joe's East Coast corporate headquarters. It's a rally to reinstate Steve. We have a ton of folks from other established unions coming. There's always the sense of, this is not just our fight, it's everybody's fight. We share the same fight, and that's been wonderful. We've also gotten a ton of help from groups that are not unions, but involved in the labor movement, like Action Network has helped us. They've supplied free tools for us to use to expand our organizing. So it's just, we've really felt that even though we're independent as a union and we're unaffiliated, we're absolutely not alone. And the labor movement, it's kind of like unlike anywhere else, any other space I've been in, where you can just ask for help and it's like expected. It's no big deal. It's like, of course I would help you. We're all in the same fight together.
Well, that's nice. That's good to hear. I also hear, by the way, that I saw a headline that Trader Joe's, the corporation, is suing Trader Joe's United, the union, for trademark violation or something like that, because although I doubt anybody thinks Trader Joe's United, the union, is a product of Trader Joe's, I think their argument is that that's their logo or whatever, their identity. Did that lawsuit get resolved?
No, it hasn't gotten resolved yet. That lawsuit just dropped not that long ago, a couple weeks ago. So, my take on it is that it's just more of the same. It's more union busting, and it's like, let's throw this at you to give you something that you need to spend your time and energy on instead of bargaining or organizing. And I have trouble seeing where the confusion is. If folks want to see our merch, they can go to our website, traderjoesunited.org, and see if they feel confused, if it could be a grocery store logo or not. Our logo is a fist raised, a fist holding a box cutter, because that's a tool that we carry with us all day long. A raised fist holding a box cutter, to me, doesn't say neighborhood grocery store, but that's just me.
So, I wouldn't think so either, but as you say, they'll fight on all fronts. The box cutter reminds me of a question I wanted to ask you before, which is, do you tend to float from department to department? Some stores run it one way, some stores run it another. In some stores, if you get put in grocery, I think you're in grocery forever, basically. In other stores, people float. They might be in grocery one day and, another part of the store another day, working the register a third day. How does it work for you guys?
Yeah, how it works is that it's very versatile. So our tasks might change hour by hour, an hour in register, an hour in grocery, an hour in frozen. So we need to know pretty much how to do everything in the store, which is great. I think that's one of the things that attracts people to the job, is that it's versatile.
Yeah, and it's also, by the way, good for organizing, right? Because you mingle with each other. You're not stuck with the same 5 people all day or 4 people or whatever. So I would imagine from an organizing point of view, that's helpful also. I also wanted to ask how Trader Joe's United, if there's been much collaboration with other, for example, I know there's no other Trader Joe's near where you are, and is it Hadley, Massachusetts? But I'm sure there's a Starbucks, and I'm sure there are fast food restaurants and so on. So have you guys had any conversations with the workers at some of the other local retail operations of various kinds, including fast foods or other kinds of stores or what have you?
Yeah, we definitely try to, all the local folks in the Valley try to show up for each other. So most recently, the Barnes & Noble across the street from our store unionized. They had a unanimous vote, which was really exciting. We've shown up to each other's events. Starbucks Workers United did a day of action. It was yesterday, where community members could adopt a store. So some TJU members went out there to a store in Northampton. So there's definitely a lot of that, and maybe we'll unionize the whole Hampshire Mall. So Hadley folks know what I'm talking about. So
okay, and I think everybody else gets the concept. So I guess the Starbucks action, which I saw, it also made me think of which. It might be one of my last questions for you, but one of these advantages that I think you all have in unionizing a store like Trader Joe's is that you do have a somewhat more progressive than average clientele, I would imagine. And certainly in some parts of the country you do distinctively, right? And I would think that would be an opportunity to look for support and solidarity among customers who I would guess would be pretty supportive of a union move. I mean, sure, the management might try to scare them by saying your prices are going to go up or whatever, but I would think all in all they'd be supportive. So, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when I was a kid and the farm workers were striking in California, and there were solidarity actions outside Safeway before people went in to buy their lettuce. So, you know, I would think there would be an opportunity for some sort of solidarity actions with Trader Joe's customers. Have you guys looked into that or done any of that?
We have done some of that, and our customers have been absolutely amazing. We are really fortunate to have a customer base that already gets it. Like you said, you know, they're already thinking about those issues, and they want the promise of Trader Joe's with the happy workers to be real, and they want to support us in making it real in the places where it needs to be improved. So we have a number of customers that are coming out to our rally next week in Boston. We also had a phone action a few weeks ago where customers called our store and told management that they wanted Steve to be reinstated and they wanted the company to stop union busting. And that action was so successful, the phones were ringing off the hook with so many people calling that management just took the phones off the hook. They were so frustrated. And so it was really heartwarming and amazing for us who were on shift that day to see, you know, the community show up in that way. It was great.
And I will tell you from, you know, political life here in DC that politicians with staffers, we'll say senators, staffers, Congress people, staffers, that calls make a huge difference. Those really register. My local Starbucks has, I'm sorry, my local Trader Joe's has a kind of pinup board for announcements. I'll bet if I put a pro-union sign up there, they would take it down, wouldn't they?
It depends on what it says, but they might, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap up then, Meg, what can people do to find out more about Trader Joe's United, maybe to support you guys, maybe find out if their local Trader Joe's is interested? Not to mention, I mean, I imagine most Trader Joe's employees around the country have heard of you guys, but I'm sure some are listening. So what would you have to say? I know, I don't doubt there are a lot of customers out there listening. And what would you have to say to them before I let you go?
Yeah, I would say come and see what we're doing at our website, traderjoesunited.org. There's links there with more information, places to take action, our merch. Donations are always incredibly helpful because we are an independent union. We're self-funded. We are, you know, just a bunch of workers doing this all ourselves. So you can also follow us on Instagram, Trader Joe's United. And on, I guess it's X now, whatever's left of Twitter, you can come find us there at Trader Joe's United.
Right, in the smoking rubble that was once Twitter.
Yeah, well, we're still there.
Yeah, well, I guess so am I. I don't know. Anyway, listen, Maeg Yosef, thanks so much for your great work again. My guest is Maeg Yosef. She is the communications director for Trader Joe's United, which is organizing Trader Joe's. And if we want that Trader Joe's United swag, we better get it now in case that lawsuit prevails. So again, thanks for all your great work. Viva Steve. And thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. And we'll be right back after this. I'm RJ Eskow, and this is the Zero Hour.